How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday, April 16th, and this is the video for today. So let's go over the last picks from yesterday. I called the Ulta PDS, the 435, 425 PDS, and let's look at the setup quickly. So Ulta, we had an eye on it for a while because it had this long red candle off of some news, could not get below the deck, and so once it confirmed this level over here, we had an excellent opportunity. So broke through the level yesterday, and we got a very, very heavy bearish day in the market. So we took that, and it was a nice PDS, and we were targeting around this for my line's gonna get a little bit messed up over here, but what we were targeting here was essentially this high at 428-ish, right? We knew that there could be some resistance at this gap fill, and we can always confirm that on the M5 chart. So it looks like we broke through that pretty handily over here, and there's some very, very strong selling pressure in Ulta. So took that PDS yesterday, and I got out. I'm not sure what I originally put it on for, but I want to say it was like maybe a 30% winner or something like that. And you could have held it out for even longer and really rode this move down in the morning. And I'll get into what happened in the day in a second. But when this moved and started to materialize over here around 11:05, you could start to take profits on this low of the day and get a really nice chunk of the move. So I took profits on the open because I didn't want to be in a lot of trades. I was managing a few positions, so it was quite difficult. But I think Ulta was a very, very nice winner. So that's the other one that we saw. Nice W on Ulta. And the other one that I called out was Snap. So we had the Snap PDS yesterday called the $10 PDS. So let's say you took it, I don't know, at a good entry point over here, even a pullback over here. So you get in around here, and you know that, hey, look, we're nearby some D1 support at this $10 level. There is some candle, I believe. Yeah, there's a little bit of support on this area. So we could see some reaction, and we're keeping our trades short term. So that should have also been a very nice win on that trade. So 2 wins right off the bat, and we haven't been taking a lot of swings, but this was a nice overnight swing opportunity because we had technical breakdown in the market, we had some heavy volume, and there was some good chance for the follow through. And even though the market really hasn't done any follow through today, this stock and both of these stocks have moved lower. So some great wins. Let's get into first our portfolio. So I'm going to go to my YouTube picks, and our portfolio is completely empty. We are in cash, at least on the pick side. We had an Amazon put credit spread that we took some nice profits on, and we're in cash and mainly sticking to day trading, looking for some occasional opportunities to do overnight swings because we are in a pullback of a very long market phase. So if we look at the long-term D1 bias here, again, I'm still a 2 bullish fundamentally. I don't think anything has really changed. There is some war and stuff like that, but that gets priced in, and that doesn't really move the markets. It does cause some volatility. And I'm not saying, right, like if there is some declaration with going on with Iran and Israel and all that kind of stuff, if something does happen there, I'm not saying that I won't tank the market, but I am saying that asset managers are aware of this. They're reducing some risk, so whatever that outcome is may already be priced in to the market, right? I don't think they have their probability models of these macro events, and they know what will affect it, like way better than I can, right? I mean, the best I can say is, hey, maybe oil might get messed up. If I look at XOP, right, I'm like, hey, look, oil's selling off here, but I don't even know if I didn't know if there was news, I would just say, hey, look, we're just pulling back and oil is choppy. So, we had a big run. There's taking gains. That's another part of the story. So not playing junior analyst here. I'm just saying that, hey, look, this could cause some volatility, and we're already seeing that volatility anyway. So even if you didn't know anything about that, the price action should already tell you to be more cautious. Speaking of the price action, here's something that has been kind of guiding me a little bit recently. So we know that, oh, I don't know why this is here. maybe because I couldn't change the color. That's why. We know a couple things here. Price action works on all time frames. And if you zoom out, right, so we know that, hey, look, we've seen a lot of choppiness on the daily chart, blah, 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 but, and I'm not saying trade the weekly chart, but if you look at what's happening here, we've had a really strong move on the weekly chart, tight price action in this case. We're going to pull back. We are in a pullback phase of the longer term macro trend. That is what's important, and that's why we're not taking any swing shorts, because we are trading the pullback, right? We don't know when we get this move at any time, right? When we get that probe for support, we have to be one step ahead of the market, and we don't want to be overloaded on our shorts. So that's kind of the main thing here, and that's why we took profits and we're taking, put debit spreads. We're day trading because we're keeping it short term. We don't know when this move is going to happen, but we're just ready for it, right? I think professional traders are always a few days early, and that's okay. And they're able to make some money, but really it's about, okay, we're slowing down, we're reducing some risk, we're getting ready for the next straightaway. We're in a turn right now. So I was outlining a couple scenarios yesterday because I had a few overnight swings and I wanted to make sure that my market bias was aligned. So I talked about the short-term context. The long-term context, I'm still a 1 bullish. We've seen some volatility, some rate cuts and stuff are kind of flowing through, and the market's matching that expectation to the Fed rhetoric, like I mentioned before. So we're pulling back a little bit. And the main thing we're seeing here is how strong is this pullback? Just like any trend, right? If we have a strong trend up, which we did, and a weak pullback, I think that on the move up, if we have a weak pullback, we have some opportunity to get in on some put credit spreads. Now, if there's a very deep pullback, then I'm not really going to be crazy about put credit spreads because it's less likely that we're going to get that follow through, and more likely that the move up may be a little bit more wimpy. So how this move takes place will affect our swing trading strategies for the next few months. So that's what I'm thinking as a swing trader. I am looking at how much is going on here. There's opportunity, I think, for some short-term swings yesterday. And I think I mentioned it yesterday. If we blow through the 50 SMA on heavy volume, right, there might be some follow-through, take some short-term swings. Even if there's no follow-through, still take some profits, right? Market has been flat. Some of these relatively weak stocks, Ulta has gone super, super down. So we can still make money even when we're wrong about the market. All right. So talked about the technical bias here. We're still 1 bullish. We're gauging this pullback here. We're watching. We know that there's going to be a bounce. That's the main thing that's going to keep us cautious. Because we know there's going to be a bounce, we can't get aggressive on the short side. Now, our shorter term bias, let's look at this on an H1 chart. So I had this choppy channel, and on this bearish channel, we broke through here. So this could be two things. One, it could be a selling climax when we break over here and then we come back in, or we could be forming a new type of channel. So those are the other couple of things. Over here, we see we spent more time in the bottom end of the range towards the end of the move, and we broke through here, broke through again, and then we got out. So that's what I kind of saw. Again, it just kind of helped me gauge what's happening over the past 2 weeks. You don't have to get crazy with that kind of TA. Second thing over here, let's look at the price action. So I'd like to zoom in a little bit more. Right, we got to move down, test the 50 SMA, gap up, couldn't get past this high. Strong action over here. And we zoom in again yesterday. I thought this was the key tell. So I wonder if my study is not showing, but let me add this study very quickly. Okay. All right. So this was the tell. And let me just save my template before I forget. Okay. So this was the tell I saw. So I mentioned yesterday the gap fill. It was stubborn. I wasn't crazy about it. And then we got this move up here. Couldn't really confirm past this prior day low, or this low from 2 days ago. And this is a pretty key level, right? Around $12 there was definitely some price reaction here. Okay, and then we got this move down lower, and then we tested the 50 SMA, and we got this, we poked through, we got this move up, and then we slammed down away from it, right? And when we really started to pull away from that, that is sort of the key tell for some, I mean, if you really timed it well, you could enter some starter longs pretty well. And I think this is a really favorable risk reward even to take like a SPY trade. But we really blew through this on heavy volume stacked red candles, and then we had some follow through. So that was sort of the confirmation intraday, in my opinion, on what I saw for the 50 SMA. So short term, I was pretty bearish yesterday. I was like, hey, look, this is a pretty strong move. We know that the bid has been stubborn. There may be some continuation. We might gap down, and that sets up pretty nicely for some short-term swings on the bearish side, at least some overnight swings. So we know that the price action in the last couple of days was bearish, and we had bounces, and they just kind of kept getting faded, and the price action was just a lot more aggressive on the downside than it was on the upside. So at least that warrants us that, look, if I am swing trading, I'm looking more for overnight swing shorts rather than overnight swing longs. If I'm day trading, I'm also going to be favoring the short side a little bit more than the long side, because I want to stay flexible. I want to be able to trade both sides, but the price action has been telling me that at least bears have been having the ball over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Now let's go over what is going on today. So current price action, we got this move yesterday, big move down, and we had choppy follow through. And on the D1 chart, let's always contextualize where we were. We were right kind of at this support level. Looks like 503, 503.80. So you can see that we know this used to be a high, and then we tested this as support on the 22nd. And we got a couple of tests over here, early in February. I think this is around NVIDIA earnings. That was the gap. So a few things I saw today. I always mark the levels of support and resistance when I come in. First level was just this low of the day, if we could break through it. The second level would be 500 because there's psychological support at 500. If we do break through 500, then I think the next level would have been this gap fill at 497.21. And then if we broke that, then I didn't really see much until the 100 SMA around 491. So those are the couple levels. We also know that when we get a big candle, there's not immediate follow through, right? There's usually a little bit of pause. So I'm not expecting another bearish trend day back to back. Those are pretty rare. The market's made a big move from the 8 EMA. So, we're not going to get super crazy with it today. So now that we kind of know our bearings, market opened flat, and we had this pretty benign bullish cycle, right? So we knew that the selling pressure was still on. So now we expect to see, look, if bears are still engaged, we should really get something good on this bear cycle. And my expectation was that we could test 500. If we tested 500, I knew that bears would have some control. So we poked through here. It was looking pretty good, but then we didn't really do much for most of the bear cycle, right? We poked the low of the day. We couldn't really get much going over here. There were some tiny candles, not a lot of follow through. Volume was pretty low. And we're just kind of chopping around. So I had a few day trade shorts. I got one tiny win, and I got one okay loss. So exit your kind of day trading shorts over here. You're looking for some stuff on the long side, and we test this high over here, and then we get sucked back in the range. So what this tells me is that we're likely to have a range bound day. And if we look at over here, this is going to be the range for the day, right? We're between this range. So we want to keep our trading light. Intraday, I am pretty neutral, and an easy way to gauge is just see how many times you start crossing above VWAP, right? When we're like chopping above and below VWAP, that means we're at a pretty small and tight range, and you can see that VWAP is flat. 8 EMA is also pretty flat, and we haven't really moved much from our opening price. We're just kind of chopping around that. And an excellent contra example is yesterday on a bearish trend day, right? We touch VWAP. We never really touch VWAP. We never really cross it. We're always below it. 8 EMA is really guiding down. We're spending a lot of time below it versus here when we're chopping back and forth above it. So if I'm a day trader, I'm looking for some really strong stocks on the long side. There's not many, and I actually called out a really nice one yesterday, which we're going to talk to in a second. But that's what I look at the day trading side. So let's look at a couple of picks. And the one I called out yesterday was Coupang. So I really like Coupang. And first of all, it had an excellent gap up on heavy volume. And we held all the gains, especially when the market started to move down. Right? So here's the market in the last 3 days. Right? It went from, let's see, it opened from 514 right now. So the market's down $10. Right? This stock has actually gone up $1 on a $20 stock, which is pretty, or on even like, $2, you could say. Really, really nice action. And I mentioned it yesterday because it sold off pretty hard, but it confirmed this support right here. And this was some pretty major D1 support. Today, it opened right here, and we saw some really strong price action at this level. So, and we started to really march higher. Really, as soon as the market started to go flat, this stock absolutely took off. So Coupang is excellent, and it's likely to be my pick of the day over here. So I would probably do maybe something like a 2250, 2350 CDS for this week. So I saw earlier, and I'm going to open up my trade here on the side. Yeah, this is a very, very nice move. So yeah, I like the 225, 235 CDS, and I also loved how we had this smackdown from the high of the day, right? And now today we broke above it, and we're really holding this support level, right? There's been a little bit of selling, but we're holding this support level, and we're inching up higher at a time when the market is still pretty flat. And it's actually moving down. So I like this relative strength at Coupang, and it's likely to be my pick of the day. Also excellent option liquidity, I might add. Let's take a look at what else is doing pretty strong. There's not a lot of strong charts today, so let's see what's coming up on our D1 chart here and see if anything sets up really well. The other thing I've also added, or maybe I've marked, is some nice 45-degree charts. There's a lot less now, unfortunately, because the market was tanking. But if you look back, like Spot was originally on here, and I put it back on here. It's been holding up pretty well, although it's been a little bit choppier. There is some strong price news. And I really love if if Spot can break through this downward sloping trend line, get a nice little bull flag here. GoDaddy has been pretty decent. It's a little bit choppier, but you can see it pulls back and moves up higher. Has been pretty strong relative to the market, and we're erasing these gains pretty quickly on here. GE has been compressing. There is earnings coming up, so keep an eye on that. Same thing with RTX. These stocks have been compressing very well. Once they break out, I would love to enter on those types of trades. Lulu has been very weak on the bearish side, so that sets up pretty well. Let's look at GM. GM was strong, but now it's been pulling back pretty recently, so I'm actually going to take it off the list. I'm trying to keep it pretty nice and neat. COP was strong, pulling back a little bit here, a little bit with energy. Let's take a look at CAT. CAT also pulling back. Again, if it can break through that downward sloping trend line, we are in excellent shape. That is a wrong alert. Let me delete that. Or at least let me put another one for now. Oh, come on. Okay, well, I'll get rid of that later. It'll trigger. DVN, again, pulling back. We had some energy stocks, a couple energy stocks in here, so they've all sort of been pulling back. I also have a sort of a strong D1 scanner, so let me see what's been coming up. And just so you guys can take a look at what this scanner is, I'm looking for stocks with basically, first, this is pretty much just good liquidity over here. So these are stocks that are traded. They're above its AVWAP EU, so it's a fairly basic criteria of support and resistance versus the SMAs, sometimes a little bit harder to tell. And then they have a relative strength and a trade signal on both a D1 and an H1 basis. So D1 means the macro context is really strong, and H1 means, you know, the kind of the shorter term market context is also pretty good. So we can see Coupang here. Take a look at CVE. Hey, there's some pretty steady price action. Energy stock, FCX is basic mats. Foxa, I think is comms, a little choppy, don't love it. GEO, okay, this is not too bad. You can see how it pulls back and makes big moves. So when we get this kind of nice bullish flag here, that's an excellent opportunity that could set up. LMT is pretty good. I set an alert on this earlier. Compressing right here. It does look like there is potentially some resistance at this level. So let's keep an eye on this. Potentially a day trade could set up. We talked about RTX. AZN, I think is a, yeah, there's some buyout or something happening. I'm not going to touch that. A has earnings coming up. Well, XOM is energy. How's that been holding up? Let's take a look here. Okay, there's our Ulta alert, although we're probably not going to be trading it over here. Potential for a breakout. Let's see if that actually happens. Alright, I'm going to pause this while the XOM chart loads. Okay, we are back. XOM is loaded. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything really nice other than Coupang. Let's look at, yeah. And also, by the way, I've set up this chart over here. So we've added, I might have talked about it earlier, but we've added these templates. So I have a D1, a SPY, and M5. I have this info one, which just has like, you know, some basic stuff if I really want to look at that. But this D1 is like, how I organized it was, I put all the SMAs in AVWAP-E, right? And these are kind of my major technical levels. So a great stock, a really strong stock would ideally be all above these levels in a bullish market. In a bearish market, it's going to be different. And then that uses compression as a divider column. So stocks usually aren't in compression, but in this case, right, if a stock, the market's pulling back a lot, and to see that, hey, look, RTX, I can tell it's above all its SMAs and AVWAP-E, and it's in compression while the market's pulling down. So I know that's probably a pretty strong stock. Then I have just kind of D1 strength over here. So we have a trade signal. Is there a 1OP signal? Is there a real relative strength signal? Is there an LRSI? So this should always be green because that's what the search filters for. And then this should always be green because that's also what the search filters for. The trade signal should also be green. So these two are always pretty good. Then I have the LRSI state. I like to see what's going on here. So, you know, if this LRSI state, you can see that, okay, CV, this tells me that, hey, well, this has been a little bit weak recently, right? RTX, not so weak, but LMT, okay, we'll pull back a little bit here. There's a fresh bearish cross on the D1 chart, so tells me to be wary. I use volume as this kind of divider column just because it's different. I actually don't really even look at it that much, but I just like it as a divider column. And if I really need to see it, that I'm like, hey, look, you know, this has a lot of average volume. It's a little bit more liquid. And then I have some regular volume over here, and I like to see the ATR, so I know that as a percent, which are, if I want to just look at movers, and ATR percent's pretty good. Just keep in mind the price of the stock, so lower price stocks are going to have higher percentages because they're just, you know, smaller price. It's easier to get a higher percentage on that kind of thing. So those are some strong picks. Let's take a look at the bearish side. There's so many more picks over here, and it can be a lot harder to filter because everything is red and everything is looking great. So on the bearish side, I did, and I'm going to bring up Ulta again because I still like Ulta. I like how it broke through that support, and it has been very, very weak. Over here, it's been compressing the whole time. It's a little bit dead. So I think you could set up for what I call the midday compression break. So we have a really strong move to the downside. We're compressing all the gains. Sellers are still here, which is nice, but we don't quite have the trend and the market scenario that we need. So if let's see, we get another benign bear cycle, maybe this bullish cross doesn't produce, and if Ulta can break through the low of the day after this long compression, then we know that the trend is still intact and we're joining at a very, very nice time. There's also not a lot of D1 support or resistance over here. Maybe there could be some here. That's maybe kind of what I'm seeing, but I mean, we are quite far from that. So Ulta has plenty of room to drop. I think the only thing that could really stop it is just, again, some buyers will step in. We might get a pullback to the EMA. if we're day trading, I'm not super worried about that one. But quite a bit of very, very nice stocks today. So on a search like this, when I know there's a lot of stocks, I'm actually going to go and zoom in and flip to my M5 search, which has a very similar layout. But what I look at is VWAP and outside day high. So I want both of these to be red. I like to have real relative strength, and I like to look at. I've been using this range criteria very, very nicely because it helps me quickly filter strong stocks or very, very weak stocks. So in this D1 search, I know that all these stocks are going to have some pretty weak D1s. And then I can zoom in to see, okay, well, HPQ I know it has a weak D1, and it's looking pretty weak in the M5, so it's probably got to be pretty good. And if you look at that, hey, this is not a bad stock. It's making a new low of the day while the market's going higher. A little bit choppy, but not a bad short whatsoever. We see our good friend Ulta is there. Match is getting through this level. I took it as I didn't take it as a day trade, but I saw it as a day trade earlier. So Match has been pretty nice. We're long red candle. We're holding these gains. We could get a very nice compression break on Match. And it reminded me of what I saw over here a couple days ago. We got this long red candle chopping around. We get some market tailwind, and then we really start to move down. We get a nice compression break. Compressing over here, break down. We get a nice move. Compressing over here again, break down. We can get a nice move. So Match is one to watch. The market's not doing too much. So these are only going to be day trades. In the event of Coupang, I think you could probably take an overnight swing, depending on how the market closes. So let me outline a couple of scenarios that I like before I give some picks. So I'm try to give one bullish and one bearish pick. On the bullish side, here's what I want to see. We have to hold this low of the day, and we have to stay in this range. When we test the bottom of this range on a bullish cross, that'd be a nice opportunity to go long. Do small size because your market bias at this point should be fairly neutral, maybe mildly bullish. I'm like a 0 to a 1 right now. I'm not very biased either way. I think this is a pretty good time to not trade. But for the sake of the video, I do have to give a pick. So I am going to do Coupang as my long pick. Definitely. And I like Match. I'm going to quickly flip through some of these here. Hun is pretty good. It was one parabolic. It's pulling back over here. I don't know if it's going to be testing support. There is a pretty strong earnings candle here, so we got to be careful of that. I'm not sure if it's quite hit that or not. But Hun is one to keep an eye on. I think we can kind of fail this green candle over here. Break through it, get maybe like a nice HA reversal. I'm sure we might have an LRSI cross. I can check quickly. LRSI, we have a fresh bearish cross, so we know it's been doing pretty well. It's holding VWAP. So this is a nice, what I call a parabolic pullback. So it's moved down, went absolutely parabolic. We've had a pretty choppy move over here. I think if the market, when the stock kind of regains its footing, there could be a nice opportunity on a breakdown here. And depending on how strong you are in the market, so let's see, take it at 191.80. You could probably take a nice 50 cents on that kind of stock. Keep it more passive on a day like this. Not a lot of great stocks, which should tell you that you shouldn't really be taking too many picks. Okay, so I think what I'm going to go with... I think I'm going to go with Match here. So here's the criteria. Market cannot be making a new high of the day, and we have to just be compressing. So market has to be dead, right? That's the minimum criteria. Market is dead, not doing too much. Match needs to break out, and we need to hold the breakout at least for a candle. So we got to break through the low, and we got to hold that breakout. If we do get that scenario, then I think we have an excellent opportunity to take a nice day trading short. I'm going to just double check if there's any D1 support or resistance. So it looks like we broke through here. You can see how that level was support or was resistance and then provided some support when we broke through that level. There may be Yeah, it looks like there may be some support over here. And you can see that's probably what it was reacting to earlier in the day. Yeah, so that's probably what it bounced off earlier. And that actually will add to the confidence of our trade because we're not really able to get back above that D1 support. So I'd like to see it pull away a little bit because this is a bit of a rough line, right? There's a lot of kind of gaps. I'm just trying to do a horizontal line of best fit. So that's what I like. I'm going to outline match. It is pretty liquid, so I mean, you could do shares if you're day trading. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel overnight right now because we haven't really got a lot of follow through on this move. So I stick with shares, do a day trade if that scenario plays out. And we're going to take a look at that tomorrow. So match day trade on low of the day, compression break. And let's add these guys to our picks. And all right, so those will be our 2 picks. And I guess for coupang the market criteria, hey, if this holds the low of the day, we hold the range, right? We bounce off this range. You know, I feel, honestly, I would feel pretty comfortable about taking coupang right now. Don't chase the high of the day. You can get in on a pullback, and you could get some nice stuff on this trade. I very much like it. I was even considering taking it yesterday, but I didn't know what the market was going to do. So that 2150, 2250 CDS would have worked out very nicely. All right, so I think that is it for today. Trying to see if I remember anything else. Yeah, I think that is it for today. So thanks everyone for watching. April is, so far we're doing pretty good on the YouTube picks. I think we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins, 2 losses. So doing pretty well on these. And let's, continue to take it day by day. And we'll see what the market does. So thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will take a look at them tomorrow.